And good evening. Good to see everybody. We are going to start a new experiment today. As discussed, we are going to, rather than verbalize and give voice to all of our written updates, we're just going to have one presenter for this meeting. Keegan here, thank you for stepping up to be the first in this line. What we're going to do, just to set the scene, because again, this is an experiment, so we are going to want feedback in the end. But the idea is, let's dive deeper into one subject, have some time for Q&A, and then see where that takes us. But we do still want the written updates because that is still very useful for all of us. We're just content to leave that as an async component of this meeting. So, okay, good. We have a tip here, so we're good for recording. Can I get a confirmation of that? Magnificent. Thank you, Tib. Okay, well, without further ado or monologuing from me, hello, Keegan. Thank you.
Hello. Right. I'm going to be talking a bit about Complement Crypto, which is a thing I've been working on recently, and I'll give you a bit of context and what it is and what it's doing and why it's fun and exciting. But to explain Complement Crypto first, I need to talk a little bit about Complement. So Matrix has a really diverse set of clients and servers, and we need to make sure that all of them are going to talk to each other properly. And for that, we have the specification. But the specification can be unclear or can be incomplete, and clients can have bugs and servers can have bugs, and you can see how maybe things won't necessarily interoperate correctly. So for servers, I wrote Complement a number of years back, which is a black box end-to-end test suite for testing servers written in Go. You just need a Docker container, and then you can run these tests is the idea. So it supports Synapse, Dendrite, and Conduit. The rationale here is all around interoperability. For clients, there's no real equivalent of this. There is no Docker for clients. Clients run on different platforms like iOS, Android, web, and so on. They're written in different languages. They have UIs, or they have no UIs, and things like that. So testing clients at the UI level is going to be really difficult and hard to do, not to mention not very portable, and the tests would run very slowly. So is there any way that you can kind of compromise on this? Well, yes, you can. You can just test client SDKs instead. And this is kind of how Complement Crypto came about, and it has a specific focus in testing end-to-end encryption. So it uses the same machinery as Complement to support testing client SDKs, and it supports the JavaScript SDK and the Rust SDK, the FFI bindings used by Element X. And the tests are currently specifically focused around encryption to ensure that Element Web R and Element X interoperate correctly, and that all of the end-to-end encryption works there. So you can make a backup on one and load it on the other. You can share your keys and do all the others, all the kind of encryption-related bits, and make sure they all work correctly. So the tests are client agnostic, and they use interfaces. They use Go interfaces, which means that one Alice and Bob test can be tested with many different permutations. So you can have Alice and JavaScript, Bob and JavaScript, Alice and Rust, Bob and JavaScript, and you can get all those permutations and so on. It's currently been developed by me, and there's a nice long hit list of tests that I would like to add. Longer term, it would be nice to extend this to support other client SDKs. So long as you can write that Go interface, then in theory, other SDKs could be supported as well. And obviously, at the moment, we're focusing entirely on end-to-end encryption, but there's no reason why that should be the case. You could also focus on other things, so long as there's support in the interface to do so. And that's it. I mean, I guess the other thing to mention is that it's already uncovered a few crypto-related bugs. So that's been quite useful as a way of proving out that actually, yes, this approach is bearing fruit. So that's been quite nice, quite validating. But yes, free to answer any questions if anyone has any.
I guess the obvious question might be how it plays with all the various other test suites that we have flying around, like Traffic Light or Polyjuice, or name your favorite slightly evolutionary branch test suite.
Sure. I mean, it depends. It's a slightly different approach to other client test suites. So Polyjuice is an Elixir, Erlang, one of the two based test suite.
Elixir.
Elixir, thank you, which is very good, but it doesn't have, it's not testing real home servers, whereas Complement Crypto is testing against real home servers. And it also tests with real federation because it's using the same internals as Complement, which already does that. Things like Traffic Light do use real home servers and real federation, but Traffic Light is testing real web UIs and is sending, the architecture is different in terms of it expects you to send control commands to the actual client process, like if this was actually running on a device. And I mean, there is more overlap with Traffic Light, but because of Traffic Light's focus on testing more at the UI level, it isn't really something that we're going to pursue, really. Because the main thing which I also wanted this set of test suites to have is support to running GitHub Actions or in GitLab CI, which Traffic Light doesn't do.
Makes sense.
Is there anything tying this current test suite to Olm and Megalm, or could we put in a
It's
different
not testing Olm and Megalm technically. It's actually testing Vidozomats because it's using the Rust SDK. There's nothing tying it specifically to that. There are some tests, some edge case tests, which rely on the test itself generating one-time keys. That generation is done using libolm at the moment because that's what Complement does. But that could easily be swapped out for something else. It's just used purely for just generating the keys.
Could you give us an example of a test, like maybe one of the tests that found a bug?
Yes, I can give you an example. So one of these is Synapse does not send the to-device message outbox on startup because, again, because it's using Complement and Complement uses Docker containers, you can pause them and you can stop them. So one of the tests would cut connectivity between two home servers over federation, send a to-device message, stop the server and restart it, and then make sure the to-device messages would be resent on startup, and that isn't being done correctly at the moment. So things like that. They do get quite convoluted.
So that test would be also an example of a test that Complement Crypto tests, of something that Complement Crypto can test, which Polyjuice Client Test would not, because Polyjuice Client Test just runs its own home server, whereas Complement Crypto runs Synapse.
Yeah. And another example would be duplicate one-time key uploads. So this is in Rust SDK. So if you log in on Rust SDK, uploads your one-time keys, that's great. But it doesn't store those one-time keys before it tries to upload. So there's a whole man-in-the-middle proxy which exists in Complement Crypto, such that you can write a test which will wait until that response to keys upload is received, and then issue a callback to the test. And then that test can then restart the client or terminate the client, like a sig kill or something like that. So that's what that test did. And then on restart, because it's got persistent storage, it would ideally upload the same set of one-time keys, which will then be okay because the keys upload endpoint is idempotent. But Rust SDK, because it forgot those one-time keys, it would generate new one-time keys and try to upload them with the same key IDs. And then Synapse would return an error saying, hang on a second, I've seen this key ID from you before, and it was a different key. So it will then reject that with a 400. So again, quite niche kind of tests, but again, these are tests. Some of them are things that we've just thought maybe this might be an issue. Some of them are actual things that we've seen in the wild before. Any other questions? No?
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Keegan. Thank you, everybody, for the excellent questions. I hope that diving a little deeper into something and giving everybody who's working on other things a chance to ask questions, see how that relates, what the intersections of each other's work are. My hope is that that's useful for us. I welcome feedback on the format. We will keep iterating until we find something that is valuable for us and serves us well. So with that said, just a heads up, a reminder that we have switched to an every other week format here. The next one would be on February 5th, but as folks know, that's going to be just after FOSDEM. We will have a very slim crew that day, and I figure let's just not be cruel to each other. So our next sync like this is going to be on the 19th of February. We are seeking a volunteer for that one. We've got Travis lined up for the one following that in March. So if anybody has something that they're working on that they think would be important to get in front of everybody else, that's going to impact other work, or that they're just excited to share, reach out to Tib or I. Okay, and anybody who wants the information that we usually share in these things verbally, again, that is in the document. So thank you all for putting your updates together. Thank you all for being here. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day and an excellent week. Take care, y'all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.